Nick Durst here with In the Zone, and we are joined here by Olympic great world champion Ryan Murphy. Ryan, welcome. How are you? And how's everything over there in Budapest right now?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. It's 5 o'clock in Budapest, which means it is completely dark out here. So I'm sitting in my well lit room, and I'm stoked to be here. And there's a meet going on right now, so I've been keeping my tabs on how all the competition is doing. But overall, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Yeah, you gotta love daylight savings, right? Pitch black at 5. You get up, it's dark. You go home, it's dark. But what are you gonna do? That's the way the clocks turn. But how has the International Swimming League been now in its second year, of course? And how has the bubble life been? And what kind of precautions are being taken over there to keep everybody safe?
Yeah, it's been good. I think I'm someone that I ask a lot of questions. So when this whole idea was being formed, I was I was a guy that was shooting off like, okay, what are the health protocols? What's the pool situation going to be like? What's the hotel look like? All of that, and it's completely surpassed my expectations, and that's really awesome to see. So in terms of like the hotel, it's really nice. Like, we are confined to our hotel rooms a lot, and being in a nice hotel is a gift. So super happy about that. Been really impressed by the food. The training situation is a lot. Like we've got a lot of pool access. We've got a lot of weight room access. So I'm able to fully keep up my training out here. And then in terms of the health protocols, I mean, I feel safe. So it's things that it's like second nature to us. Whenever you leave your room, you got your mask on.
Yep.
Whenever you go into a new facility, you get a temperature check. You gotta hand sanitize your hands. Those dispensers are everywhere. When you go into the dining hall, it's one person per table. You're not allowed to serve your own food. Someone else has to do it for you. Every 5 days, we have COVID tests, and in the first 2 days we were here, we had a COVID test each day. Um, I'm sure I'm missing some of the protocols, but it's it's been extensively thought out. And so I think from the athlete's perspective, we're just really thankful that we feel safe. And here we are, and almost through 4 weeks, and from our perspective, it's gone really smooth. So fingers crossed we can keep up the good work and keep everyone safe out here.
Now, are you wearing a mask like right up until you're about to jump in the pool, or at what point do you taking the mask off?
Yeah, so I mean, essentially until you're in the last ready room. So the last ready room, you go there literally 2 minutes before your race, and then you take off the mask, go behind the blocks, get out of your race, and throw on a new mask. So it's definitely not something we were used to, and honestly, like, my expectation was once the bubble was kind of sealed, we wouldn't
Mhm.
have to wear the mask as much. But I'm really glad that they've stuck pretty strict with wearing the masks at all times.
And you said the food is pretty good. What kind of stuff are they serving you? And is it like set times you can get food, or are you pretty open to get food whenever you need?
Yeah, so it's set times, and you just go in, and it's you got your pastas, your rice, a lot of different meat options, salad bar, fruits, desserts. So there's a ton of options every day. Like, I would say, like, if you went through and got everything, like, you'd have like 5 plates. So there's tons of options for us, and that's been great. That swimmers eat a lot. So the fact
Absolutely.
that we can eat a lot is awesome.
And overall, just how is like the team environment been with the International Swimming League? Obviously, it's a little different than a typical competition, but how's it been really being in a team environment, but also in the fact that you really can't get close to your teammates and interact with them too much?
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, we can only really hang out with, like, I can only hang out really with LA Current, and so that's what I've been doing. Like, I've been hanging out with that group, and it's been great. Like, I think this year in particular, there's such an emphasis on team culture, because it's 6 weeks where you see the same people every meal, every practice, every swim meet. And so, like, if there's not a solid team culture, that there can be some rifts at some point. So luckily we kind of got ahead of that, and really put an emphasis on team culture early. And it's been great. Everyone's getting along. Everyone's having a good time. And so I've loved being a part of LA Current this year.
Excellent. So how have you, especially leading up to this, really been able to keep yourself sharp, motivated, hungry with the Olympics, which is obviously every swimmer's main goal, being postponed a full year?
Yeah, I think the motivation thing, there's definitely peaks and valleys. So, I think going all the way back till March, when that original Olympic decision came down, my motivation was pretty low after that.
Yeah.
Like I was operating at such a high level, and and then it's overnight, it goes from like you're going 100% pretty much perfect on everything to like, okay, like indefinitely, we don't know when the Olympics are. And about a week later, we found out they were pushed off a year. So it's like, you know what, I've got over a year to be good. And, and that's how I treated myself. That's how I treated my body. Like I wasn't eating great. I was really not working out very hard either, for a while there. And then you kind of flip a switch where it's like, okay, like now it's time to get back to this. I've had my time to take kind of that mental break, that physical break. And now, let's narrow in on this goal again. And then having something like ISL in, kind of looking in the future for a little bit was awesome. Like it's like, okay, like you can't hide in the sport of swimming. Like it's times on a scoreboard. So if you're slacking off for an extended period of time, that's going to show up in the results. And no one wants to come out here and get embarrassed. So so it was motivating for me, where it's like, okay, like I gotta put this together, be really solid over these next couple months, try to swim decent out at ISL, but making sure that I'm keeping my priorities. For me, my priority is to swim super fast at the Olympics. And I do think ISL is complementary to that. Like for me, haven't been able to compete in 6 months. I don't know what my next meet is outside of ISL. So it's like, I really wanted to take this opportunity, get a good 6 weeks of racing in. And I think that's going to pay a lot of dividends as we move forward throughout this year.
So take us through your mindset, heading into Rio, and obviously super exciting, your first games. And obviously that's very different mindset now, everything being much changed. But what was your mindset heading into the games, and what did you take away from your experience, other than, of course, the medals? And was there something that really surprised you big time, just being at your first Olympic Games?
Yeah, so I mean, I think my mindset was, I was that was my junior year of college that we were leading up to the Olympics, and so my mindset was the same as it had always been. It's like, all right, let's just try to get a little bit better this year, and that's what we did. I felt like we got to like May of 2016, and I'm like, holy cow, like Olympic trials are next month. So it was just a year where I kind of put my head down, worked really hard. Didn't really let myself like read the headlines or read who the media thought was going to win or anything like that, because I knew it wasn't me. And so, those last couple weeks going into Olympic trials was fun. Like that's the fun part of the year, when you get to rest a little bit in training and really start to see the fruits of your labor throughout the year. And that's what happened. Started to swim really, really fast in practice, went to trials, it went great, went to the Olympics. And I think I dealt with the pressure well. I've always been someone I've liked competing on the biggest stage. I think I do well on the biggest stage. And so I wasn't nervous that the pressure would be too much. So I went there and just did what I do. Like I've swam these races so many times. And so to go in there and just do it another time, just in front of a bigger crowd, that was kind of my mentality. And then coming out of it, I think the thing that you're always surprised about is like how it impacts other people. Like after that, it's like the night of the Olympics, I had people reaching out to me that I hadn't talked to in years, extended relatives, like all kinds of people are reaching out, and you start to realize the impact you can make on others. And so after the Olympics, I was like, you know what, like I want to keep on swimming really well, but I need to extend my platform a little bit, and make sure that I'm influencing others in the correct way and introducing them to the sport of swimming. And so a passion of mine ever, for my whole career, but really after the Olympics, is I really want to grow this sport and leave it in a better place than I found it. And, and I think that's kind of what ended up drawing me to something like ISL. I think it's an incredible opportunity to raise the profile of this sport. And, that's really exciting.
Yeah, and I think just watching it from afar, of course, I feel like every few years at the Summer Games, swimmers become really like the most popular people in the world or in America, and it's like a really high, peak, and then obviously there's a lot of peaks and valleys in swimming. So you mentioned like really using your platform and whatnot. Did you find it? Talk us through like coming back to the States and just really that really emotional high, popularity high, and then how things change and go up and down there with the swimming calendar.
Yeah, I mean, so I came back and it was my senior year of college. So I went back to my college house with a lot of my best friends, and it was a blast. We probably had too much fun that I guess that was our second to last semester in college. But really it's just like you get back to reality. For me, that meant I've got to study really hard in school. Like there's only so much you can do socially. Like if I'm trying to be the best swimmer in the world, I'm trying to be the best student I can be, and I'm trying to be the most social person I could be, something's going to slip. And at the same time, I was captain of our swim team. So I'm trying to make sure that the rest of our guys on the team are moving in the right direction. And so I put so much on my plate that year, and and that's a good mistake to make. It's good to try to do everything you want to do and hope that you could still be at your best. I don't necessarily think that's realistic. You gotta recognize, like, you can't be operating at 100% on everything. So that was a big thing that I did learn after the Olympics, but overall, I mean, my Olympic experience and everything since the Olympics has been overwhelmingly positive. So I definitely don't want to paint a negative narrative of what my experience was like in those months, years following the Olympics.
No doubt about it. Of course, you win the gold in one of the most memorable 4x100 men's medley relay races of all time. Of course, with Cody Miller, Michael Phelps, and Nathan Adrian. And in that, you break the world record for the 100-meter backstroke. You ever just sit back after that and say, "Wow, I'm the best ever to do this particular race"? And how do you reflect on setting a world record?
Yeah, I think I definitely in the moments after that race, I definitely shed a few tears, like happy tears. I'm not a very expressive guy, I don't think, with like showing my emotions on that level. I'm a very excitable person, but to move me to tears, that's a lot. So it was a huge moment for me. And in terms of coming off that, like, yeah, sure. For a couple months there, I was like, you know what, I am the man. And but you quickly get snapped out of that. I think for me, like work in the pool is what's going to continue to drive the success. And me living in the past is not doing anyone any favors. So I think I definitely didn't put that performance behind me. Like, I'm very proud of it. But like I kind of had to go back to the drawing board. It's like, okay, like how do we continue to improve every single day? And I think that's what we've done since then.
Great. And obviously improvement is something that everyone has to strive for. You gotta, even if you're the best, you gotta continue to make strides. Everyone's doing the same. So, and I'm sure you asked this in every interview, but what was it like being on the same team as the greatest of all time, greatest Olympian of all time, Michael Phelps? And what did you learn from him and other veterans such as Nathan Adrian at that 2016 games and really just leading up to the Olympics as well?
Well, it's very nerve-wracking being on a relay with Michael Phelps. You know, he is the man. He's the best of all time, and we knew it was his last race. So I remember sitting down in the dining hall with Cody Miller before that race, and we're looking at each other. We're like, dude, we really cannot mess this up for Phelps. And so like it made us really just like snap into it, get really focused, and make sure that we put our absolute best performance forward for that day. In terms of what I've learned from Michael is that I think the most important thing is Michael is just another person. You know, like he's an incredible athlete, an incredible person, but you know, like he wakes up, he brushes his teeth the same as you and I do. You know, so the same problems you and I have, he has those same problems. He's just very, very talented and works really hard at what he does. So I think that's the biggest thing, you know, like, you know, no one's a god on earth here. And, you know, and I think growing up, that's kind of how you view those people. Someone like Phelps is like, wow, that is a larger than life person. You get to know him and it's like, yeah, he is the man. He's really cool. He is a human being. And so I think that's honestly the most important thing. And you mentioned Nathan as well. I train with Nathan on a day-to-day basis at Cal. And he's just an incredibly consistent hard worker and so level-headed. So I really admire his consistency, his ability to not get too high or too low emotionally. And he comes in and he works hard and he loves the sport. So I definitely admire both of those guys a lot.
What was the Olympic Village experience like in Rio, and were you starstruck from seeing any other athletes from across all the sports?
Yeah, I mean, definitely seeing the basketball guys. Like I consider myself a big basketball and football fan, and so seeing those guys was unreal. You know, like I remember I've got like some creeper photos of Pau Gasol entering the village, and I'm like 10 people behind him, and I'm just like trying to snap a picture of them. And those guys the USA guys came up to our floor in the dorms, so I got to meet Draymond Green, Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant. All those guys were up there, so it was cool to see them, and was definitely starstruck by those guys. And then in terms of the village, I mean, it's just cool, you know, like everyone, it's cool because you know the work that everyone put in to get there. You know, like there's no slackers in the Olympic Village, and so there's just a level of respect with everyone you see. It's like, yeah, you had to bust your butt to get here, and for that I respect you. So, you know, I thought, you know, to seeing that mix of cultures was really interesting and really cool.
Awesome. And what is something, you know, obviously leading up to Olympics, NBC does a great job profiling a lot of the athletes, but what is something that maybe your childhood friends would say about you that would surprise the general public?
Ooh, that would surprise the general public. Ooh, I like that question. I mean, I would say honestly, like, it kind of depends which friend group you ask. You know, if you ask the swimmers, like, they would say like Ryan comes in with a purpose every day, and he doesn't waste a single stroke in practice. My school friends would say Ryan is competitive at everything he does, you know, so it's like I want to be the best in the water, but I took academics really, really seriously. And you know, I think training the mind through academics, through podcasts, now I'm really into the stock market, and that's how I kind of engage my mind. But I think engaging your mind is really, really important. And I think also it's just like, when I'm doing a task, I'm doing the task at the best of my ability. When I'm not doing the task, I'm chilling. Like I'm a chill guy. Like I enjoy just hanging out with the friends and doing whatever. I'm more of a person that it's who I'm with rather than what I'm doing. And yeah, so I think those are some things that my friends would say.
Awesome. And looking ahead here to now the 2021 games, What events are you looking to compete in, and do you feel any sense of added pressure here, knowing that now you're one of the veteran swimmers that are going to be leading the way for Team USA?
Yeah. I mean, so the first priorities are the backstrokes, and if that puts me on some medley relays, great. Like I love competing for the USA, so I really want to be competing on those relays, and competing on them at a high level. So, and then in terms of pressure, it's like I think you kind of make your own pressure. Like for me, I know all of the U.S. backstrokers that have come before me, and a question I get asked a lot is like, "Oh, do you think those guys are going to be disappointed if you don't win?" And it's like, well, first, I'm not the only American backstroker that's going to be competing. There's going to be two of us, and whoever it might not even be me. So whatever two Americans are going to be competing, they're going to be really, really good. And then I also know all those guys that did it. So it's like here talking about ISL, my general manager is Lenny Kraselberg, who won the 100 and 200 backstroke for the US in 2000. And I know Aaron Pearsall, he won it in 2004. I know Matt Grievers and Tyler Clary, 2012. I did it in 16. All those guys, I think all those guys like me, and they like me no matter what, as a person. So, I don't feel pressure to live up to their name, but that's definitely my biggest goal, is to go in there, compete for wins, compete for golds for the USA. And I hope to be there doing that.
All right, there you have it, Ryan Murphy. Ryan, thanks so much for your time, and best luck with the rest of ISL and, of course, the Olympics next season.
Good stuff. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.